All right, let's begin, please. You should have received by email September 21st meeting minutes. Any comments, discussion? If not, a motion, please.
Motion approved. Minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Under correspondence, we have no correspondence from the DOH enforcement list.
Oh, I think we do have two.
Oh, we do?
Debbie, do you have two?
No, I
Debbie
didn't.
told me she didn't have
No,
any.
Oh, okay.
we read them. I looked at them. We'd read them last month at the meeting in September, so I didn't have any since then.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a number of requests to become members of Remac. Do we want to do these individually, or do we want to do these?
I can go through the list. We have Dr. McKinnon, who has joined us. Dr. McKinnon is from Canton-Potsdam Hospital. I'm very excited to have him here tonight, and I'm actually going to put him on the spot. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm originally from Winthrop. I grew up in the North Country. I went to Clarkson for undergrad. I went to SUNY Upstate for medical school. I just finished in June emergency medicine training down at Albany Medical Center. And I'm very happy to be back in the North Country working at CPH.
Well, thank you, and we look forward to hopefully having you on this committee. We have Mark Devers. No explanation necessary. Who is a current member of the Regional Emergency Medical Services Council, along with James Barr, who just texted me. He will be here in like 15 minutes. Also a current member of the REMSCO, and both of them are requesting membership. We do have open REMSCO seats from St. Lawrence County. And we have another request from Robert Meyer, who is a paramedic with Messina Rescue, to become a member. He was endorsed by the St. Lawrence County EMS Advisory Board. They're just waiting on the legislative process at this time. And we have Justin Astafan, who's here with us, paramedic, director of operations with Lewis County Search and Rescue. Has been a provider for
Paramedic for 3 years.
For 3 years. And he would also like to become a member of the Remac. So, and also has been endorsed by the county legislators for a position on the REMSCO. So we'll be joining.
Motion that we approve all of them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to old business, air medical.
Donnie's not here. There was a family emergency. I have no update.
Okay. State EMS meetings. Jim?
Better get a shot. How about now? Okay. At state meeting, which was December 9th, anybody wants a copy of the minutes? I'm going to make it short because you get a repeat. One thing that the chairman reported was there was a lot of contact to the chairman about the concerns of the critical care level of certification. And he stated at this part in time, there was no need to be concerned about the CC level, and there would be no committee for the CC level. The previous meeting, they had appointed a committee to look at the critical care level. He said the level will continue. He had received a lot of correspondence, and a lot of them had inappropriate language, and he said that people should not lower themselves that much. Just make it out there. Just to throw that out there, that a lot of us on the council, we don't need to be abused. The vice chair gave his report. I thought I'd touch on this because this is somewhat important. Was very impressed with the online protocol updates. It's something we could be proud of with the spinal cord. There was 31,000 people done in 90 days. There were like approximately 10 to 11,000 that haven't completed the protocol update, and they're trying to figure out, are they still in the system or not in the system? We learned a lot. Initially, the state was not aware that the computer system did not talk with Windows 10 because they were unaware of that. Also, so one thing that you're going to look at is going to be annually more online protocol training coming down in the future. Also, there was discussion on the mandatory wage increase for New York State at $15 an hour. It was stated that at this current time that EMS was not part of that. And there was a debate on that quite a bit. One of the things that we have to be looking at is reimbursement for EMS. In the future, it's going to be based on the quality of service, and the state has been charged with trying to cut down on the frequent flyers, and so you're going to look for quality-based reimbursement, and so that's just the future of EMS. Let's see, the other thing, as far as the director report from Lee Burns, they had the trauma committee reported that hospitals statewide were getting complaints that EMS were not giving adequate notice on patients coming into their facilities. So they were asking people to give more adequate notice. However, the director thought it was more of an in-hospital problem with their communications, because when they looked at the EMS component of it, it was felt that it was an in-hospital thing. And just to throw that out there. The blood regulations are out there in the final draft. It's it only took 9 years for this to get through the state and all the regulations, those of us who were here back then. There are other regulations that we're working on statewide. Hopefully it won't take that long, like the 822 regulation changes. Vital signs is going to be October 13th and 16th in Syracuse next year. They had a lot of good feedback from the this year's Vital Signs, and there was 1,400 that attended. In May, they're going to be the EMS Memorial. They're going to add 6 more EMS providers on there, and the date has yet to be announced. As far as trauma goes, the state is still working on trauma centers throughout the state. There are 6 new trauma centers that have been approved by the federal government in New York State. 8 more centers has been requested. 4 hospitals have been removed because they did not meet the federal standard. Education and training. This is the regional faculty program is moving along. We're working on a testing on that. We're in the future, regional faculty will be contracted with the Department of Health, and on a per diem basis, they will be going out auditing classes and instructors. Also, as far as new certification exam for CLIs and CIC, they're hopefully by May 16th, this might apply to you, Mark, is that they're not going to no longer use the paramedic exam as far as certification or a basic exam. They're going to have to take an instructor exam. It's going to be based on the national instructor certification that some of us have already taken, so you won't have to take the paramedic exam every 3 years. And the first test is due out May 16th. We've already written the exam questions for that. And I think that's a positive because we lost a lot of advanced instructors in the state because they couldn't get the 85%. So that's going out the window, and we're in the process of rewriting the language on that. So the finance, this is important. We did the budget for the state council. We are asking for $25 million this year from the health department. As in previous years, we don't think we'll get that, but we are at least asking for it because that's a realistic budget for the state. Previous years, we've asked for like $21 million and got 16. So we thought we asked a realistic number, and hopefully a little higher. They'll bump it up a little bit. But I think it's a shame that our program agencies for 16 years have been the same amount of money. And how in the world can we keep having more and more deliverables mandated to the program agencies and get less funding? It just doesn't make sense. But I just want to let you know the state council is trying to be proactive. We just hope the health department is proactive. Yes. All right. CON actions. There were none in New York State, but it's a little bit of trivia out there because it affects, in our county, Lewis, it's actually happening. But from September to December of last year, there were 14 agencies that turned over their transfer of their CONs to other agencies. So that's getting to be a trend. And one of the big transfers is Rural Metro converting over to an AMR. But they did not list those. There were 14 other agencies that gave up their CON to another agency. And a lot of that is consolidation of services in the states for that, you know. So we get a stronger EMS, not a weaker EMS. All right. Legislative. There's a law about wearing seat belts. And the state council, the way the law was written, it currently covers municipal-owned agencies. And there was a motion to send to the legislation to require all agencies to follow the seatbelt law. Also, we sent a letter legislatively to increase the reimbursement for EMS agencies and at least bring up the reimbursement to the Medicare level from Medicaid. They have approved the language for paramedicine. We're waiting on approval for reimbursement at this legislative meeting, but they also let us know that there were some healthcare systems, nurses union in particular, that were resisting the paramedicine by paramedics. So the safety committee meeting, one of the things is the violence against EMS providers. I just read an article today that EMS providers are assaulted 15 times more than police and fire. So we are getting more and more attacked. So we have to look at ways to prevent that and look at ways to be an awareness level for that. Okay. Another thing that was brought up, the Ebola requirement that was never enforced, they're taking that out of the requirement where you're supposed to have Ebola training, donning and doffing monthly. They say we should at least annually practice putting on and taking off and doing PPEs on all patients. You know, I think that was a political thing, but neither here or there. The state is looking at the changes on the 822 with dealing with ambulance constructions, and I serve on that committee, and what we're going to look at is the NFPA ambulance requirements and the CAAS requirements and try to merge them into one document. Any other questions, you can feel free to ask me after the meeting, but this is the short one-page version.
Thank you, Jim.
I made it as short as I could.
All right, I appreciate that, thank you. All right. Let's move on, Spring Fling.
I'll do that in my
I'll do that after.
PA
Okay.
report.
Hospital destination.
Do you want me to talk about it?
I'm happy to.
Okay, I haven't got all those updates
Yeah.
done yet.
A group of us met December, right? December time, to try and come up for Dr. Lawrence's request, and we all thought it was a valid request of a guidance document to be able to share with EMS on certain patient types that are unique in treatment and unique in hopefully the destination that we should transfer them from the scene. So just to give you a heads up about what we talked about, and we're not ready yet to disseminate the document. There were 7 patient types in our rural area that we thought had unique situations. OB services, a woman who is in active labor, we feel should, if possible, get to a facility that deals with women in active labor. Strokes, traumas, suspected STEMI patients, hemodynamically unstable GI bleeds, we feel need to get to the facility who's able to do mass blood transfusion if possible, not going to a facility that does not have blood products, and dialysis patients. And so we're in the midst of getting our thoughts in writing and looking at it from different aspects. And we'd like to bring it back at the next meeting to go over it with all of you. It's not a protocol, it would be a guidance, and our hope is to review it quarterly. And on the document, we'll have the facilities that have dialysis capability, we'll have listings of our closest stroke centers, trauma centers, facilities that have the capability of doing blood transfusions, so that EMS providers have the tools available to them to be able to make that decision of to bring a scene patient with these 7 items, 7 chief complaints. So we look forward to sharing it with you next meeting.
Thanks, Maya. Does anyone have any questions regarding that?
Just in addition, one of the things that we do have a couple of questions in regards to some of the hospital's capabilities. So I did put together, and we're just kind of working out the details before we send it out, where we'll be sending out questionnaires to, I believe, like the ER directors and RN and physician, to see if we can get those questions answered, so we ensure that the information that we have on this is adequate, and to also encourage future communications when stuff changes, because that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges is, one week you have one type of service, the next week you may not, and we've struggled with that for years at the regional level, trying to identify those and the frequent changes.
EKG transmission.
Joe couldn't be with us tonight, so we have been working diligently with SUNY Upstate and St. Joseph's, hoping to get into Crouse as well as we start with the 5 trial agencies out of Jefferson County to be able to transmit ECGs from the field with the Microsoft Surface Pros and the ambulance hotspots that we received through the grant from Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield. Sounds like the majority of the agencies are pretty much up and running, with one of the last ones coming on board. There was a question on the protocol as to whether we go 60 or 90 minutes for a timeline to get these folks to definitive care, to a hospital with PCI capabilities. I had reached out to both SUNY Upstate and St. Joe's in regards to this. Their answers were a little bit different. I came to the conclusion that probably should be 60 minutes for the timeline. Any thoughts on that? And that's from, time of first medical contact with EMS to arriving at the PCI capable center, 60 minutes within that protocol that we had initially put out.
I just know we can't do that at our service, but, in the event that we can't fly, if that's the timeline, we still have no other choices but to go.
Right, but
2.5 hour, maybe even 3.
there seems to be literature that supports the use of thrombolytics if they're outside certain timelines. So, that is, if you're outside of that timeline, not necessarily saying that you can't go, but that would probably require consultation with your local medical control facility, which I think is something that we need to do and we need to promote more of out there in the field, is consultative medicine to ensure that we're getting these patients to the right facilities. Does anybody have an issue with that remaining at 60 minutes as it was before within the protocol?
Was Upstate's 90?
Upstate's was 90, but the way they wrote it made me think that that was 90 minutes. They didn't necessarily account all the travel time or their time in the ER.
So I think it's like if we choose 60, then we're covering both our referring facilities. But it's time of chest pain start, not time arrival. It's right. Time of the chest pain start, not time that the EMS arrives.
I think that we need to clarify that because with stroke patients, it's time of onset of symptoms, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But most everything I've seen with the literature, and I may be just wrong, so it's time of first medical contact to PCI.
I think
It's
unfortunately,
first medical contact?
so, yeah.
Okay.
with the 60
certainly-
minutes, the only one that
certainly
it's going to
that's-
apply to is South Jeff. We're the only ones that can be there in 60 minutes.
Well, I think Guilfoyle can maybe squeak it out.
It's first.
The question is, are you going to set a time frame that you'd never be able to make? Because very few people have a EMS there instantaneous with the onset of symptoms. It requires a dispatch and getting to them. And then, in other words, you might then, it depends on if St. Joe's and Upstate, what they're agreeable to, but otherwise you may never get somebody there to go directly. You may always have to go somewhere to get thrombolytics first. Because, once again, from the onset, which for the usefulness of PCI without thrombolytics, you have to get there pretty quickly.
I think that, I guess my understanding is that if it's less than 60 minutes, they can go directly without contacting medical control. Outside of that time frame, it doesn't say you can't go. It just says that you should consult with medical control. And I think that that's a good practice.
Yeah.
So wait, I'm sorry. I thought med control was consulted even within the 60 minutes to okay the ECG recognition on the study.
For critical care providers,
Not for
because
paramedics.
that is not in the training curriculum. Reading 12-lead ECGs is not in the training curriculum for critical care providers. But so paramedics who are trained in 12-lead, right, Janine, that's in the curriculum? So for the paramedics, then if they're within that 60 minutes, they could potentially bypass calling medical control. But anything greater than 60 minutes, or if they're a critical care provider, or if they're unsure that it's a STEMI, then they should consult local medical control before they bypass. if that makes sense.
I'm okay with that.
Did anybody check with St. E's because of the southern end of Lewis County?
Not yet, I'm not that far. Our trial agencies are all out of Jefferson County. St. E's, Plattsburgh, are all on my list.
Our plan is to iron it out here because we have better relationships. It's easier to iron out the bit first, and then we'll expand it. Any other discussion?
So you need a motion then if that's what you want to make it, right? It's in the minutes.
I don't think it's a change, actually.
Oh, I thought you said you were recommending. Okay.
Right, just that there was a discussion on it, and there was some thought of changing it to 90.
Okay.
So I was just clarifying that discussion, unless the doctors disagreed with me.
So currently the guideline has 60 minutes. The docket.
The document says 60.
The document says 60.
Okay.
So we put in a 60 or 60 to 90 with a check in my little notes, so.
But is that from onset of symptoms or from
They're
the
saying patient
illness
contact.
I
arrival?
think it's patient contact.
Medical
Everything I've
contact.
seen with
First
PCI is
medical contact.
patient contact.
Yep,
And that's how it's written in?
that's from what I've seen, that is, so, first medical contact.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, infectious disease tag. Dave? Oh, there he is, Dave.
Yeah, I'm hiding down here. Well, as Jim said, New York State making changes again. There's a lot of information on the New York State website, including a very colorful chart on how to handle these possible infectious disease patients, proper questioning, all the way down through to EMS arrival and what to do when they're at a scene. So at this point, what I want to do is go through some more information and see if we can make maybe a one-pager. If anybody's seen these documents, some of them are 8 or 10 pages long. Even the nice colorful flow chart is 4 pages long. So I apologize I didn't have time to get that completed before today's meeting, but that's where we're at, is trying to get a quick one-page flow chart to just hand out to people.
Thank you, Dave. Medical control manual.
At the last meeting, there was discussion and approval to add physician assistants and to be able to provide medical control. We also approved the 2 regional hospitals that were not medical control to become medical control. I have not completed the update and or the education yet on the medical control manual, but I was able to speak with some folks at both Governor and River Hospital, and they are interested and they are working on getting their systems together so they can provide a recorded line, radio, to be able to do medical control. So they are working on those systems, and I will continue to work on the medical control manual.
RSI.
RSI, I have not had any movement on that. What I would request is that somebody that is on that committee to volunteer to chair that committee.
I'll volunteer to chair it, since I'm one of them. But that's one thing I noticed, we had no chair.
Okay, so Jim, I will get information to you, and then I'll get everything that I have in the office or can find on that, and then you folks can move forward with that.
Thank you. Let me just hit that.
We're skipping number 11 because Mark is not here.
BLS CPAP.
That was
Multiple.
Mark and Janine too. So
Oh, and Janine?
Oh, that's
Okay,
right.
I'm sorry. Medical legal review training class.
you and Mark agreed to. No, this was
Okay.
the meeting before, or even maybe
Okay.
before.
All right, we'll defer to the next meeting. Okay, BLS CPAP, we have a number of agencies for approval.
So as you know, we approved everything for the BLS CPAP. Since then, we have received a multitude of applications. I will list them all off, and then if you have any questions, I have their paperwork here. So we have the North Pole Fire Department, Lewis County Search and Rescue, South Jefferson Rescue, Ogdensburg Volunteer Rescue, Indian River Ambulance, Tiers, Norfolk, and Lorraine Fire Department. So I would entertain a motion to approve all of those folks for doing BLS CPAP.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
I'd like to add something to that. We had changed the Narcan a year and a half ago, that they didn't have to wait for these meetings since we only meet quarterly. So I'd like to see us authorize Ann and the program agency to approve these so these folks can get up and running with that rather than waiting for our quarterly meetings.
I would make it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Protocol Review Committee.
We did not have a meeting.
All right, we did not have a meeting, although I did send out an email. Did you get that? All right, I sent out an email to all of the committee members. When we were at the state meetings, I kind of had heard some rumors about this, but my understanding is, as you know now, we collaborate with Mid-State and Central New York. Everybody is really heavily looking at joining on the other collaborative protocols, which I believe we glanced at or
From the Remo region.
looked at from the Remo region. That includes, I don't know, there's how many agencies, Dave? Do you remember, or regions?
I don't remember,
There's like 5 regions.
I think that between the two collaboratives, us and them, there's 11 regions.
Yeah, and that's out of 18 regions in the state. So anyhow, Central New York is looking, and they will be actually voting on February 11th as to whether their Remac is going to move forward with moving to the other set of collaborative protocols. I have not had opportunity to do a cross-reference between our protocols at this time. So we have a couple of choices. And I sent out this information to the protocol committees, but didn't hear back from anybody. So apparently I didn't surprise anybody when I did that. So our choices are, number one, we can move to the collaborative protocols with them. I do have Dr. Maynard, who we are working on someday, hopefully getting vetted as our state rep, and Dr. Delaney, both on a listserv that they have for these new protocols, and myself. And I haven't had any communication since that. It was like right before Christmas when we got those. And any other changes that they're looking at, but they're about 3/4 the way through reviewing these, I guess. So we're coming into the game a little bit late. So we could choose to go on board with them. Medicine should be medicine is their take on it. And anything that's operational or regional specific can be separated out into a policy statement. So, for example, just, like air medical, because in one place, air medical, like our STEMI protocol. In one place, they may not need to have a STEMI protocol because they don't have agencies that are greater than 60 minutes away from a PCI lab. So if that was something that was unique to our region, that could be in an operational policy.
And I did get an email in the last few days. I was in my office today, and it was there for the last few days that indicated they believe it was the latest updates with the changes, along with a document that indicated what would be left local, as what you were just saying. That list of left local wasn't even a full page.
And so, can you forward that?
Document. Yeah.
We were supposed to be on the listserv, and did you guys receive anything? If it was this weekend, I was locked out of my email all weekend because we migrated to Office 365, and I didn't like didn't migrate. Well,
If I remember, there was very little difference between our protocols and theirs as far as paramedics. The big difference was what critical cares could do and could do between our region and the other 5 regions. But I do think it's more of a movement going toward a statewide protocol other than New York City. And I think that would benefit the providers that work in multiple agencies in multiple regions. But I think the reason why we didn't go last time because it took away some of what critical cares could do, and we were heavily reliant on critical cares in St. Lawrence County at the time when we did that. I would be in favor of going in with that region, particularly Central New York, so we can standardize our protocol statewide. And if critical cares lose some of that's just the way it's going to be.
thank you, Jeff. So if they choose to go and we choose not to, we're going to have to, review and redo all of our protocols. We will probably, I'm not sure whether we'll be able to maintain the phone app. The maintenance agreements are up on those in May. But it would be a significant expense for one person to, we've been splitting these maintenance fees for these apps to keep them updated. The collaborative set of protocols, the other set does have an app for the phones. I think, and from what I've seen, a lot of providers are using that app out there in the field versus the printed books. So, again, if we don't go, we do our own protocols, and back to, they are costly to print, but we'll have to make sure the books are done and all of that. So,
I think what we need to do is have a protocol review committee. We're going to have to do our own comparison.
Absolutely. Yes.
We're going to have to do a comparison and bring it back.
So, again, Dave, were you going to chair that committee, or I couldn't remember whether you'd set forth as chair, or I don't know that we really discussed it at the last meeting.
So Dave, do you want to send out some dates so we can?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other discussion on that?
What does Mid-State, what does Mid-State want to do? Have you heard?
I think that they're looking at going on with the collaboratives as well. The other collaboratives.
That's what Jenny indicated.
Yeah.
Right after ours got approved, the 3 regions together in that group, there was a discussion with Dr. Olson, Dr. Daly, and Dr. Johnson. And the discussion was to sit down and look at those because Dr. Daly didn't believe there was really that big of a difference that we couldn't overcome and our 3 regions join the rest of them. So probably, and then we didn't have those meetings with Dr. Johnson, and then probably Dr. Olson did maintain that and move forward with it.
Okay, physical restraint protocol.
So, one success we did have was getting the physical restraint protocol that we discussed at the last meeting approved through the state, and again, that was to add Versed in as a standing order, for patients that were combative as a result of synthetic marijuana. We actually went through and utilized Central New York's PowerPoint. We posted that on our website. We put information out to all the agencies requiring the ALS providers. They were mandated to complete that by the first of the year, which is at the same time their CMEs were due. Pulled a report on that. We had 45 that did not take the test as of yet. 12 of them were inactive after we started looking through. 7 have since taken it after we reached out to the agency's CME managers. So we continue to work with getting the rest of these providers up to date on this. So my question is, what is your pleasure for the folks that do not complete this within a reasonable time frame? They have already been told it was supposed to be done by the 1st of the year.
Spend their privileges.
Okay.
So they can
until they complete.
Any more discussion on that?
Making that a recommendation?
I'm making that.
I'm making a motion.
Thank you.
All in favor of that?
Do you want to put a date in there?
I think the date's already expired.
Well, we've already gone by it, but do you want to put a date in your thing on when to suspend them by?
Into February.
We'll give them 2 weeks. They got notified a week ago. They got notified last week they were non-compliant. Their CNE managers were advised that they were, and some of them are already receiving suspension letters for not having CNEs anyways.
February.
Give them 2 weeks. Make the
February
motion.
15th then, okay. Everyone in favor of that motion, or is anyone opposed to it? Okay. Other old business. Does anyone have any old business to bring
I'm
forward?
not sure whether you want it under old business or new business, but as of Friday, every agency in Jefferson County had signed the mutual aid agreement and agreed to participate, so.
Great.
Yay.
Thank you, Charlie.
And I had another question. Is there going to be a QA meeting after this?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, because I have little information for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, program agency report.
All right, our accomplishments for my 6 months of return in 2016. We had a new office set up. While we continue to work on office systems, seems to be working out well. One of the big goals or accomplishments is we work diligently with St. Lawrence County Dispatch. We are now able to obtain scratch rates on a routine basis from that county. It's been very helpful, so now I'll be taking the second step. We have 4 or 5 agencies in St. Lawrence County that have a greater than 50% scratch rate. Some of them pushing greater than 85%. So I will be addressing those agencies here in the very near future. We're also designated as an opiate overdose center. We've been able to provide naloxone to the Watertown City Fire Department. I'm currently working with City Police Department here in Watertown and the Sheriff's Department here in Watertown to be able to provide Narcan for the officers. We've been dealing with some New York State OGS red tape, and now I'm waiting for accounts to get set up. I received 1 shipment, which is pretty much spoken for, between all these entities. So as soon as I get the account set up so I can start getting additional shipments of naloxone in, hopefully we'll be able to supply that out to other BLS and ALS agencies who are in need of Narcan. More to come on that. So we didn't have any epinephrine auto-injector applications. We did receive 1 public access defibrillation for Kraft Foods in Lowville, but I have to work on that because the doctor is from California and public health law states it has to be a New York MD. I asked for a report from the state in regards to our remaining agencies that did not have controlled substances. And please let me know if you know if any of these agencies have since received controlled substances. Not to my knowledge, but we have a DeKalb Richville Fire District. The first ones I'm mentioning are all St. Lawrence County. Hammond Fire and Rescue, Madrid Rescue, Norfolk Rescue, Herman Rescue. Norfolk and Herman both, I believe, are in the process with their plans. I'm not sure on any of the other 3. In Lewis County, we had Beaver Falls, Harrisville, Lyons Falls, and Turin. none of which had narcotics as of yet. And Jefferson County is complete. So those are our agencies that are lacking controlled substances. It is not, it's a recommendation at this point. It's kind of a standard of care from the state. They are currently working on putting that into Part 800 of the rules and regulations. It's just going through the regulatory process now, so trying to get those all taken care of before that does become a regulation. EPCR, we're working with Edwards to try and get them up and running on EPCRs. We do need to meet with them. And October 1st, Henderson and Alexandria Bay went live with EMS charts. So we have a total number of 23 agencies on electronic documentation platforms out of our 49 transport agencies. So the rest we are still processing via paper PCR. Hence one of the challenges with pulling data that represents the region as a whole. It's very labor intensive to pull data off the paper PCRs, if you can even read them. Regional CMEs online. This was our first semester. We mandated everybody to have them done online. I did give them a little break and, tried to push them along after the first of the year. I did find there were 12 that were no longer practicing in our region that were registered on the online site. 10 suspension letters are going out for failure to complete CMEs. Most of those 10 didn't do the patient restraint protocol either. So they'll be already getting their letters. We found 3 that we've been notified no longer are with their ALS agency of record and now have no agency affiliations, no ALS agency affiliations, which are required to be a provider, so they will be getting a letter saying, please advise us of your status or you will be disaffiliated by such and such a date. We attended I attended state EMS meetings. We worked diligently. Debbie Singleton worked with Lorraine Fire Department. Our office worked with Hubleton Fire Department, Briar Hill Fire Department, Pierpont Fire Department, City of Watertown Fire Department, Glen Park Fire Department, to update their BLS-FR agency codes because the state sent them out and gave them a deadline of January 15th to complete those and turn them back in. And I'm very pleased to say they were all done and submitted back to the state on a timely manner. And then we also received updates from the town of Watertown Fire Department as well. Not because the state required it, but they had a change in leadership. The check and inject program through the Monroe-Livingston Regency. As of last report, which was probably a month ago, when I received the report, we have 15 total agencies that are participating in the check and inject program, which just briefly, it will allow basic EMTs to give epi for anaphylactic shock via IM versus the auto injectors. They have special syringes that are made up, and this is a cost savings measure. They have a spectacular training program that they put out there. It's a demo project through the state that's fully been approved and our region signed on to. So that's the update on that. We did 5 CME manager trainings in preparation for the end of the CME semester. We were able to reach out to 20 CME managers. Our office also did multiple New York State spinal skills sessions to get the EMT skills checked off. And regionally, we have 104 critical care providers and 89 paramedics with suspensions.
You were talking about spring fling.
Oh, I forgot that. So spring fling, I'm a little bit behind on that. If anybody has recommendations for speakers, I will take it. Debbie and I have got some ideas down pat that we're working on. We have the vendor material almost together. We are looking at a program. We're going to ask for approval from the REMSCO that will, it's a whole scanning program that incorporates doing the name badges, the certificates, the evaluations, which will save us tenfold on time. System was used by the Mountain Lakes Conference. It was pretty spectacular, and they liked it, and the cost of it is very reasonable as compared to the cost of the time it takes us to manage trying to do all that stuff before spring fling is a 1.5 person office. Any more to add on that, Deb?
No, we're looking at pre-conference that Friday. Peggy Barter has agreed to do a American Heart Association CPR instructor class. So we know that there's sometimes people looking to become instructors. So we're going to offer that as one of the pre-conferences. So.
Thank you.
I'm sure I've forgotten something, but I'll answer it again.
All right, we'll move on to new business. Agency upgrade, downgrades. What do we have here? Tri-Town Rescue.
Okay. I received a letter from Tri-Town Rescue. Their one paramedic provider is no longer with them. So they're requesting to downgrade from paramedic to critical care level. Entertain a motion to accept their downgrade.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, BLS Narcan.
All right, before I realized I didn't need to bring him here for approval, I put him on the agenda. So St. Lawrence University BLSFR has put in an application for Narcan.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? CME evaluators.
I have a bunch of names here, but before I put those out there, one of the things that I've noted, I think we really have to look at our regional CME process. I'd still have to go through the whole list of CME evaluators because there's people on the list that are they're either no longer practicing, they've been suspended, or they've dropped their level of care back to BLS. So I really think we have to take a good look at that. I have some ideas as we move forward. So I will bring these forth and approve them as of now, because if we have any changes, they probably won't be implemented until the second semester of the year. So CME evaluators, we've received a request for Carla Hellinger and Jessica Sweet, both out of Lewis County. They're both CICs now.
Correct.
They're New York State instructors.
I would make a motion. I've attended classes from both of them. They're highly regarded in our county.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And the other one I have is Julie Carlson, that was just handed to me tonight. So
I think she was with Fort Gum. She was changing from Fort Gum to Gulfport, is what she told me.
she may already be approved. So I don't even have the list with me to know, and it was handed to me tonight. So
She just said she was changing.
okay.
Okay, agency medical director change.
I don't have any.
Wesley Island.
Okay, Wellesley Island. Wellesley Island lapsed their certification, their CON certification. We had some difficulty getting a hold of them. Once we did get a hold of them, there's been some changes, and they were diligent. I've been working this with Charlie's office and the New York State Department of Health, and they've apparently gotten some of their needed paperwork to the Department of Health to renew their CON, but because they lapsed their certificate, we have to give them a BOS endorsement to do defibrillation.
So moved.
Make second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
That one,
We don't need to do that right.
the Clarkson University, an endorsement of BLSFR, that'll go to the REMSCO, so that's just informational.
Patient refusal update.
Can we back up to the Wellesley Island? Who made that motion? I'm trying to get these down for Charlie. Who seconded?
I think Steve did.
Thank you.
All right, so first off, I apologize for not having all this stuff out here. I'm going to actually show it to you. I'm going to send it out next week and then see if we can't get a vote on it. One of the challenges, if you guys, for those of you who remember a while ago, we did a patient refusal form that was approved. We've had some folks provide some suggestions, and I think they're actually good suggestions because when you're out there in the field, there actually is no good suggestions. Now I'm going to find it. It was right there. I know.
You need to make your font smaller for your thing. Then
No, I can't see it.
Well, now we do it.
All right, I don't know what happened here, but it. Well, this is the refusal form that we currently have now. Oh my God. Let's get rid of this. So in this section down here, there are absolutely really not good choices, and I'm just going to pull this up or leave this up for a minute. This is not, I want to find the thing with the changes on it. But everything's kind of moved together here. My screen's pushed together when it hooked up to the projector. It's right there. I just can't get to it. No, it won't open. It's sitting on top of that one. Okay.
go up to view. You can go to view and just change the font size, and then it'll make them all smaller so you can see it.
Yeah, it's going to show me the view here. All right, I apologize for this. Anyways, let me see if I can pull that up on here. The changes, here, I'm going to read the changes, Debbie, that Eric put forth.
Proposed new choices in Section C. Ambulance transportation to the nearest hospital is recommended based on your current condition, complaint, specific injury, or illness. Transportation by other means could delay necessary care and could be detrimental to your health. Your refusal of the recommended treatment and or transportation comes with significant risks. Those risks include, but are not limited to, the worsening of your current condition, permanent disability, and even death. Though you say you are not injured, not ill, and you decline ambulance transportation after the completion by EMS of a thorough assessment, EMS has offered you transport to the nearest hospital for further evaluation. Also, you have been advised that if any complaints develop or worsen after EMS departs, you should seek immediate medical attention. Proposal to change to Section D. Do I need to keep reading, or are you going to?
No, I was going to.
Revise the second sentence to say, we have been advised by EMS medical personnel that treatment and or ambulance transportation is available and or recommended. Hereby accept all responsibility connected with our refusal and release the EMS agency, its employees, medical personnel, and administrative officers from any and all liability or claims resulting from any such refusal of treatment and or transportation.
I think the biggest thing is sometimes we get called sometimes to calls that, there was no injury, or, they're not the ones that called, and then there's absolutely nothing on that refusal form that allows for that. So I think that was, Charlie, do you have any more?
No, I agreed with Eric's changes. I thought they were good. I think I changed a word or something in them, but that was about it. Like Ann says, lots of times there's no reason to transport this patient. They dropped a rock on foot. Wife, husband called. Patient says, I don't need to go to the hospital. I'll go see my doctor Tuesday. It's just, I think sometimes we get called when it's not necessary, and this gives us an out.
These MBAs with unknown injury.
Just have one dumb question. Being that you're using this to be try to help you get out of jail when they try to sue you, has it been reviewed by any attorney?
No, and that's it may be good to put.
Concerned about.
And the only big change I think here is that proposed that section D.
And my statement isn't against it. I'm just saying, we need to have an attorney look at this and say, yeah, okay. Just a question.
Is there one available to do that?
We have one coming to our meeting tonight at 7 o'clock.
There you go.
Add it to the bill.
Tara, look at this for me.
Just saying.
We can look at that. We don't have an attorney on staff.
No, but if you keep that where Karen can read it, she may give us an opinion, and if she's okay with it, with her opinion, I think we're okay.
Okay.
I'd make a motion we accept this pending review for free by Ms. Taddeo, or if she won't give us an opinion, then we'll ask Ann to seek an opinion from another attorney, possibly through FDR HBO.
I was just going to say, why they must have one.
There are a couple of
quickly look
attorneys who
at it. Yeah.
participate there. One is actually on the board. So.
Yeah, and that's all I'm looking for, so we just make sure that the language actually is okay.
Unfortunately, that attorney is not involved with EMS in any way, shape, manner, or form. So I don't know how much her opinion will count.
Yeah, it's always better to.
I second Charlie's motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. I did not expect a decision on that tonight because it didn't get out there.
I think we've talked about it a few times at different.
So the second one is a really stupid change, and I know that's not very big, but this is our albuterol policy that has been in place since it's 11. I guess I redid it in 2011. But anyways, it's come to my attention that highlighted sentence there, not all EMTs in the agency must be trained in order to provide this. That was meant to say that if you have 5 EMTs and 4 of them are trained, the 4 of them could go ahead and do this. Mm-hmm. It's apparently being misconstrued that it means you don't have to be trained to do this.
Par for the course.
So I would entertain a motion to remove that one sentence, and I'm happy to send this out with weight, but it's fairly simple and put, it is strongly recommended that all EMTs be trained. And then add in there, you may not administer unless you have had the training.
I'll make that motion.
I think that last sentence says it all.
Yeah.
The first one, obviously, the second one is true, that you should be trained, that we are recommending that everybody be trained.
Okay.
And that was put in the second one, you cannot administer it if you're not trained to administer it.
Yep. Thank you. Did we? I think we got it.
Did we get a motion for that? I'm sorry.
I made the motion.
Howard made a motion.
And you second, thank you. Any opposed to that motion? Okay.
Howard made the motion.
Dave seconded.
You're right, I wasn't stupid.
Okay. Governor rescue. Move on there. You ready to move on?
I am.
I wasn't paying attention, I apologize.
Okay, so we received last week,
Wednesday, ma'am.
following my sending out the agenda, a plethora of medications that Governor Rescue is requesting. These are medications that will be maintained only during inter-facility transports. At no time will they be initiated under emergency operations. There was a educational piece that I sent out. There was some discussion back and forth, along with a guideline for each one that was sent out. There was discussion back and forth. It has been changed so that, I don't remember which two, they are all be paramedic only except for TXA and
Head Start, or HESPAN.
HESPAN. So those were sent out to everybody.
And I know there was some confusion. They're not adjusting these meds. They are titrated prior to arrival. It's a set drip rate at what it's ordered. I did get some questions from, I believe, Mark Tuttle, too. They're not messing with these meds without consulting the sending facility. Janine asked me earlier today, if the pressure continues to rise on labetalol, are you going to increase the labetalol? Not without discussing with the sending facility, as we do with any medication on it in the facility.
Can you remind me, didn't we have a discussion before about inter-facility transports? I thought we decided that we're not going to...
Well, we had the discussion on inter-facility transports. I've yet to get a clear answer.
Okay.
I did look at all the other regions who currently have inter-facility transport protocols in place within their protocols. I checked with other regions. They haven't seemed to run into this problem, but again, most other regions have much closer definitive care within their areas, so they're not doing as many transports, as great a distance that our folks are doing. Back to, it's a huge gray area. I seem to get different opinions, even at the state level.
We spent 2 hours talking to John Morrissey about it, Ann and I did.
And
Couldn't get that 2 hours.
basically, during the transport, my understanding is ultimately the responsibility of the sending physician.
Right.
Okay? All right. So the other thing is, though, but the EMTs are not credentialed under that hospital. They are not employed by that hospital. They function under their service medical director and the regional medical director because they have to be in a system. So I believe when I look at it in that perspective that we have every right to require, if we need to know what these folks are doing, if we're we're certifying them to practice, right? And that we also have the right to CQI, or we have the right to say, no, we don't want you to do those things. But at least if we're having a little bit of oversight, we're assuring that they have some education and make sure that they're training their providers. They're just not sending providers with, I think we have to do that for our patients.
What we've, almost every time we do this, we bring up another set of meds that the transport agency is going to be using. If it's not something that's already been used by another agency and approved, we go through the same discussion. Essentially, as Ann said, we function under our under our agency medical director for these inter-facility transports. So the first step is that the medication that we're going to be administering One, our medical director, our agency medical director has approved us to do these and has either performed the education or has overseen the writing of the education and the production of the education to the providers that are going to be using it and signed off on it. Then the sending facility, in part with that, there's a training on the equipment that's going to be used. And I'll use Samaritan because that's what we use. Samaritan provides the pumps for these drips that we're taking. So we've already had the training on those pumps. We've had the training on the equipment, on the drips. And as Mark said, what is going to happen when you're out there on the transport? What are you using? What are you doing? Well, if this occurs, we contact back to Med Control, and here's what we're doing, and here's how we're doing it, and these are the steps we're going to go through. Formally, and I hate to even use this term, but this is almost what John agreed to in the last meeting that when he was here, that interfacility transport medications came up on, is you're kind of rubber stamping it. It's more of the Remac needs to know that Agency X, with the approval of their medical director and the working with that sending agency, this is what this agency will be trained on being able to, or capable of transporting. And that was kind of the gist of it, as he said. We're not getting there's no black and white answer.
That's what I recall. So
I'd
like to make a motion to accept your presentation, your package that you presented. I think that the two, they should be the paramedics, except for those two, the HESPAN and the TXA. That would be critical care, right?
Change. That was we talked about that Wednesday or Thursday night when we called them. So
I endorse that.
I'll second
Did I send change? I think I may have said, no, I might not have. I didn't send them out because I got them today and we were going to be heading here, so. If I got them prior to that, I couldn't get into that.
if they are changed on my sheets, if you want to see them, so I can get them.
You made the motion. Do you second it? Okay, any further discussion on this? Okay, all in.
I have a quick question.
Sorry, Janine, go ahead.
Do we have, is that the training plan? What was that on?
It was the PowerPoint that goes with it. There's also a quiz that's not set out with it.
And Dr. Manager, Medical Director Sandler, you're happy? Okay, she's definitely.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay. Does anyone else have new business that Charlie?
Just a little bit. I'm passing around some statistical reports on one of the things that we call from our CAD system is the call types and the number of calls for each agency in the county. So this report there's a lot of data here. The last 2 pages are ambulance agencies only, and the first several pages are all first responders and fire agencies, special teams. But what this tells you is that we had EMS agencies had 1,463 calls for breathing problems. And these are all call types in our CAD system. The thing that always surprises me is that we had 2,700 calls for falls. The other thing that you want to take into account when you look at this data is that heart attack, depending on what the caller says to the dispatcher, it can be dispatched as chest pain, difficulty breathing, several other call types. So, heart problem, automatic implanted defibrillator problems. So those 3 or 4 categories could all be cardiac related. But this is all good data for what it's worth. You can tell how many squads or how many calls each agency is involved with as a total for the year. There were a little over 23,000 calls for service for EMS between first responders and ambulance agencies in the county. And I will tell you that number is not complete. There are a few call types that I didn't include in this report that for some reason ambulance agencies got dispatched to an electrical investigation. Why, I have no idea. there was probably a dispatch error or a glitch in the CAD system. So there are a few call types that I didn't include, but these are all the types that I felt were definitely EMS related, might be of interest to this group.
That's interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Interesting. Okay. Anything else? Deb?
Steve had asked a while ago if we could look at intranasal glucagon. So I was able to do some research and find studies where it's being done in other areas of the country for BLS providers that don't have ALS available to them. So I talked to Sarah about this, and I have some information. I was looking to put together a proposal to give to the state to see if we could do a pilot for our BLS people to use intranasal glucagon while they're either waiting for ALS or if ALS happens to be the closest as a hospital that could be utilized. We're using intranasal Narcan. We're now doing IMs for Epi. And this just makes sense for those BLS agencies to be able to treat their diabetics. So I didn't want to put a lot of time into it. I've got a lot of things together, but would like to submit a proposal from the region if everybody is acceptable with that.
First of all, thank you, and I would make it a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Other new business? Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's adjourn. We do have CQI. Thank you.
We'll go in the other room in a second. There's a pulled pork back there.